and gentlemen and vector designers, we're going to do the Graphite Freestyle Challenge. All right, if you see red text, that means stop taking notes. If you see in green text, it means do what it says. Any other color text, read it and learn. All right, so the first thing I want to go over with you on this is that we are going to start logging into the computers and not the Chromebooks, and you have to log in as you, not the guest. So here's the instructions on how to do it. Go to the PC, type in your dot, your first initial, last name, dot, last two digits of your graduation year, dot, STU, and then you have to type it, your password. The password is going to be your first initial, last initial dash student ID. So if you were Cody Lee, you would type in CL dash and then whatever your student ID number is. If you don't have any of that, let me know. And again, it should be not the Novell, but the OES network has to be the OES network. Give it a shot. If you can't do it, let me know. So from now on, you have to log in as you, and we're probably not going to use Chromebooks much anymore. All right, so make sure you say what is Inkscape at the top and Graphite at the top of your page, and put your name on the top of your notes. Now, Adobe Illustrator is a program used by artists to do graphic design and vector images. Now, what does that mean by a vector image? Well, I'll show you what a vector image is not. It is not a raster image. When we were doing Pixlr, Pixlr is raster design. And so let's see if we can find a magnifying glass here. Let's see what happens if we zoom in. Eventually we are going to see what? We're going to see pixels. We're going to see squares. So raster design images are made up of pixels, and if you make them bigger and bigger, eventually they pixelate and the quality is not good. Now, that's not the same case with raster design, or pardon me, vector design, like what we're going to use. They do not use pixels, they use formulas, and because it uses formulas instead of pixels, it does not lose quality or pixelate. As things get bigger and bigger, it just continues to scale. Adobe Illustrator is the main one we're going to use because it's professional grade and it's probably one of the better ones, but it's really expensive. So I want you to be able to use things at home. And one that's really good and free is Inkscape. It's almost as good as Illustrator. It's a desktop program. And then Graphite is not as good as Inkscape or Illustrator, but it's handy and it's browser based, which makes it nice. But these are both free versions that we're going to practice. Now, write this down in your notes. So Inkscape is desktop, which means you're going to find it if you click, like, watch my little mouse. If I go over here and go to the desktop, you're going to find it on the desktop, or you can search for it here as well, but on either a PC or a Mac or a Linux computer. But it's going to be, this thing is designed for this Windows machine, so it's a desktop app. Now, on the other hand, you have Graphite, which if I go, and you guys can do this too, you can type in Graphite and type in Graphite SVG because it's a scalable vector graphics. That's a format we're going to save it in. So if you go to Graphite and you start to draw, if you go to Graphite, it is browser based, so it works in a browser, and so basically any computer that has a browser, it'll work. So it's not made for a particular kind of computer, like, oh, this is for PC or Mac or Linux. It's actually made for anything that has a browser. Okay, so make sure you write this down. So the processing on a desktop application, the processing is done by the computer itself. If you're running something in the browser, then a lot of the work is not being done by this computer, but it's being done in the cloud. Okay. All right. So let's get started with the Graphite Freestyle. So SVG is a generic format that most vector programs can use, and so we're going to save our work in Graphite as an SVG. Write that down in your notes. All right, so the first thing we need to do is, on this computer, make our folders. Create a computer's vector design freestyles. And so you're going to come over here, and you're going to click on something over here. And so I'm going to go into, now this is important that you save it in the right spot, because if you save it in the wrong spot, it's going to delete and disappear. So you're going to find your folder, your OES folder or your personal folder with your name on it. And you're going to right click and you're going to make a new folder, and you're going to call it Creative Computers. And inside there, you're going to right click and make a new folder, and you're going to call it Vector Design, and you're going to double click on that. and you're going to right click and you're going to make a new folder and you're going to call it Freestyles. Okay, so that's where we're going to save our work. Then you're going to go to, so we're going to start off learning a browser based one, so one you can do at home and you can do anywhere that's free. And so we search for Graphite VSG or SVG scalable vector graphics, and you're going to click over here. I don't know if you're going to have to log in. You might have to log in and use your school Gmail, but it's free. Use your school Gmail, and we're going to go launch, and oh, well, it didn't do it. I'm going to hold tight. Let me hit pause on this, and I'll get it back to how it was. Okay, so you're going to make a new document, and you're going to give it a good name. You're going to call it Graphite Freestyle, and then put your name. And then I'm going to call this number 2 because this is my second attempt, and click OK. All right, so now that you're in here, now this is going to be challenging, and I'm going to go fast, and I will help you, so don't freak out. But you're going to draw, eventually you're going to draw a picture of anything you want that exists in the real world. So it has to be something that that's real, that I can recognize. So like something like ghosts or unicorns or something like that. Something that exists in the real world that I can recognize. But first, everybody has to draw a heart. And everybody's going to draw a perfect heart with the pen tool. So go to the pen tool, and so you should be doing this with me. And so we're going to click and we're going to drag. So we're going to click and drag and release. And then I'm like, oh, look, it makes a nice Bezier curve. Okay, so I'm going to find the top of my heart. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag, release. And I'm going to click, drag. Now this is a tricky one. I'm going to make a corner anchor point. So I'm going to click, drag, alt drag, release the mouse, and then release the alt on the keyboard. So I was pressing alt on the keyboard. So then I click and drag, release, click and drag, release. Now I'm going to make another corner anchor point. I click, drag, press alt on the keyboard and drag, release the mouse, release the alt, and then I'm going to connect this thing. So this has to start and end at the same place. Okay, so then I'm going to come. I think, oh my gosh, that heart is ugly. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click on the path tool, and I'm going to I'm going to adjust these handles, and I'm going to move this anchor point or this node, called different things depending on the program. And so I'm going to move this around, and I'm going to move this around a little bit. So I'm just going to adjust everything until I get it exactly how I want it. So I like that. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to the stroke color, and I'm going to say, oh, I want the outside to be a nice shade of blue. And I want it to be, the stroke to be thicker, so I'm going to change the stroke weight. And you can see that it's good. Oh, it didn't change the color. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to change the, what's it doing? Oh, there it is, the fill color. And I'm going to change the fill color to bright red. Okay, and then I can click on the select tool, and I can move it around and change it. Okay, so the heart, you have to do a heart to show that you can use the pen tool and have these corner anchor points. Now the rest of the picture, it can be whatever you want, but it has to exist in the real world. Now once you're done, or once you get to the end of the period, we're going to go File, Save, and it saved it as a graphite file. And then we're going to go File, Export, and we're going to save it as a scalable vector graphics file, and we're going to export that. Now these are going to disappear, so all your work is going to be gone. So we're going to click up there, and we're going to click right there, and we're going to see the stuff we just did. So I'm going to click on it, shift click to get both. I'm going to press Control and C on the keyboard to copy. Now I need to go into my folder with my name on it. I need to go into Creative Computers. I need to go into Vector Design. I need to go into Freestyles, and I'm going to press Control and V and to paste them in there. So now I've saved all my work. Okay, let's go back here. I think that's it. Read through this, And then make sure when you're done with it and you want to get points, follow the instruction on Google Classroom as to how to turn it in for points, because it differs on every assignment. Thanks, guys.